didn't, or rather God the Father, he didn't just say, I love my children. He showed us he loved us by giving his son as a sacrifice, all right? And so we have to learn, how do we express this value? Because the value is sacrificial love, but we got to learn how to express it. And I believe that God gave me these two things to share with you guys today. The first one is that the expression of his love is, or the expression of sacrificial love is, the laying down of our lives. Look what it says in John chapter 15, 12 to 13. It says, this is my commandment. He says, that you love one another. See, God wasn't playing. He didn't say, this is my suggestion. He said, this is my commandment, that you love one another just as I have loved you. See, he gave us the standard that we're supposed to measure up to. Since I loved you, love each other. And then he says, greater love has no one than this, that one lay down his life for his friends. And now when we look at that and we read that one would lay down his life for his friends, that's what Jesus did. But you know what? If we love everybody that way, well, we can only love like one person at a time, because then we can never love again. If we legitimately lay down our life for our friends. So what does it mean to lay down our lives for our friends? I kind of got this revelation. When you think about what your life is, what is it made up of? It's made up of all that you are, your emotions, your energy, right? Your time. How about that? How about your money? Your resources, and your effort, or your energy. So I believe that when God tells us to lay down our life for our friends, he's telling us we got to be willing to sacrifice our time, our money, our resources, our energy, and our effort. It's key when we talk about this. You know, sacrifice, like you said, Laura, sacrificial love implies going the extra mile. It implies that we have to have an acceptance of the fact that inconvenience is part of the game. Inconvenience is going to be part of the game for sacrificial love. Do you think Jesus was convenienced by going to the cross? That he was convenienced by being whipped and shamed and beaten and bruised and spit on? No. Inconvenience is part of the game when we talk about sacrificial love, and we have to learn that. And we have to learn that it means that we're going to have to go the extra mile every now and then. Matthew 5, 41 and 42 says this, if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. That's a rough truth. If anybody asks you to go with them 1 mile, go with them 2. The extra mile. This is at the heart of sacrificial love. But you can only do this if you have this next tip, which is a humble mindset. Right? Because if you think you're better than everybody, you're never going to walk next to side with anybody. Here's what it says in Philippians chapter 2, verse 2 and 4. Therefore, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if there is any comfort from his love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, in other words, if we mean to do this life together as community, in a church, as a body, okay, if we intend to do this, if there's any tenderness and any compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love. What kind of love? Sacrificial love. Okay, the same love, being one in spirit and one in mind. And here's where it gets to the key. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, in other words, being humble, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. Sacrificial love implies selflessness, meaning there are going to be times where we have to take our own desires and put them to the side. Be without ourself. Be selfless. The opposite of selflessness is selfishness. You can't be one and be the other. You're one or the other. Did you get that? So we have to understand, if we're not willing to be sacrificial in our loving, then we are inherently, by default, being selfish by nature. And the only way we can learn to sacrificially love one another is to understand that, you know what? I consider you higher than me. Therefore, I got to serve you. I got to do something for you. Okay? We've got to learn to think about other people's interests before our own. Now, that does not mean that you stop thinking about your own interests. But it does mean that you've got to have a humble attitude to start looking, how can you love, serve, help someone else? Because that's the problem. We have this issue that we are selfish by nature. Tell me I'm lying. You can't. Because we are selfish by nature. Since we were born, we've been told to get yours. To do your thing. You only live once. What are the saying over the last 20 years come across? You know, get yours. We've always been told this. So we've got this in our mindset that you've got to be about you. Jesus comes and says you've got to be about others. And by being about others, he says that his joy is made complete. Because now you're acting as one mind, one body, one family. That's the reality. Many families nowadays are having such a big issue because they don't know how to get past their selfishness and step into selflessness. Because they've not understood the concept of sacrificial love. And I'm not going to pretend like we got it all together. We got our 4 kids. We're training them on this. And boy, it's hard sometimes. It's hard sometimes to train this because the world is telling us something else. But we have got to learn to value sacrificial love. So here's how we do it. When do we express sacrificial love? We have to, the first thing is, look for opportunities to love sacrificially. When are we supposed to do this, Pastor? We have to look for opportunities, okay? You have to ask yourself, you have to ask this question of others around you. Do you need help? I have to intentionally think to myself, does my wife need help? Do my kids need help? This is a question I've got to ask myself. If I don't ask myself, there is no way I can practice sacrificial love. If I can't look at my brother and say, Manny, do you need help? I can't practice sacrificial love. Okay? For example, I'll give you just a quick tip. In this past season, there's been a lot of people moving. We've moved. You know, a lot of people that we know have moved. And when you move, what happens? You need help moving. Right? I've committed myself, and I'm probably gonna really mess myself up here right now. But I've committed myself that if anybody asks me to move, as I am able, I'm gonna help them move, because I'm committed to sacrificially love those around me.
Now, you're gonna get a lot of text.
That's why I said I try to just mess myself up.
Everybody,
but the reality is
gonna be like, Pastor JJ, I need your help.
But you know what? And that's okay. That's okay, because then you give me the opportunity to love on you. It's an easy way. It's an easy thing. You know, inviting somebody to a meal, sacrificial love. You had to spend some money to get it. But that's how we love on each other. We've got to learn to live out this thing of sacrificial love. You know, you can't always be there for everyone. We understand that. Okay? But you can be there for more people than you're being there for now. Let's be real. Okay? You can't be there for everyone. We understand that. But here's what sacrificial love, here's what we got to do. We got to look for opportunities. Sacrificial love is not thinking, how can I get out of this? It is asking yourself, how can I make this happen? When somebody says, hey, I need help, it's not like, oh, let me check my schedule to see if I'm free. No, it's let me check my schedule and make my time available. Do you guys see there's a difference? Because if all we're looking, let me see if I'm free, I'm looking back into my selfish being and my selfish nature, and I'm not exercising sacrificial love. And I'm not coming here with the authority of perfection. I'm coming here with the authority of being perfected. I stand as somebody who's learning this together with you guys. But this is what we have to do. We have to learn to ask ourselves, not how I get out of something, how can I get into it? How can I, Manny, I heard you were calling, and he doesn't have a mic, so he can't say that. But Manny, I heard you were moving, and Manny didn't ask for help. But what I do, Manny, do you need help? Can I be there for you? Because I knew he was moving. And I knew he probably wasn't going to ask for help. Because that's just how Manny is. Manny rolls that way. But do you guys see what I'm saying? You got to say to yourself, not how can I stay out of a matter, how can I get into it? How can I express love sacrificially? And here's the other thing. Here's the truth that you guys got to recognize. You have got to give others the opportunity to express sacrificial love towards you. Did you get that? One thing is looking for ways for me to express my love. Another thing is for me to open up ways that others can express their love towards me. Because if I don't, I can be equally as egotistical by not asking people for help as I am by not asking people for help.